start our meeting for Monday, April 15th, 2024. If everyone could please stand for the prayer. God our Father, we are all your servants. We trust in your mercy and love. We trust also in your guidance. Direct the meetings of this council of North College Hill to make good decisions for all the people who live in our city. Give all the members of this council wisdom and insight to know what is best for our city. Help us to be fair and just in all our decisions. Bless us all to do the very best we can with your help and guidance. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Meeting will come to order. Say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So as usually happens when I'm sitting in this chair, Mr. Graver is not able to attend tonight, so I will be filling in for him. And as always, I ask for your grace and patience with me because I am not comfortable in this seat. So with that said, Mr. Hedger, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Orb,
Here.
Mr. Wald,
Here.
Ms. Dukestein,
Present.
Ms. Alexander,
Here.
Ms. Brunner,
Here.
Mr. Davis,
Here.
Ms. Underwood.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Hedger. Council, in front of you, you have tonight's agenda.
Madam President,
Ms. Dewald,
I move to accept the agenda.
thank you.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood,
I'll second that.
I have a motion from Ms. Dewald and a second from Ms. Underwood to accept tonight's agenda as presented. Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Orb,
Yes.
Mr. Wald,
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Brunner,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed, 7-0.
Thank you. Also in front of you, you have the minutes from the August 1st, 2024 meeting.
Madam President,
Ms. Dewald,
I move to accept these minutes as printed.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood.
you meant to say April 1st, not August 1st, right?
Did I say August? I'm sorry. Yes, April. I looked at April and in my mind, read April. I'm terribly sorry. Yes,
I will second that motion.
thank you. Mr. Hedger, I have a motion from Ms. Dewald and a second from Ms. Underwood to accept the minutes as presented. Could you please call the roll?
Ms. Orb,
Yes.
Mr. Wald,
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Brunner,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed, 7-0.
No, it's fine.
Mr. Hedger, do we have any communication this evening?
Madam President, I have nothing to report.
Thank you.
Actually, I have a question. So, on the, even though I voted to accept the minutes as written, it says at the top that I'm not there, but then it says that somewhere else, it says that there was a motion from me and a second from Ms. Dukestein under minutes.
Madam
Madam
President.
Chair.
Mr. Hedger.
Ms. Underwood, if you could give me the exact place, and I'll make sure it's corrected.
It just under, on the page 1 of 3, under agenda and then minutes, it says motion from Ms. Underwood. But at the top, it says I was absent. That's 220. I don't know whether I was absent or not.
I believe you were absent, Ms. Underwood. You said Paige.
Madam Chair. Madam President, sorry.
I'm sorry, I was listening to
Go ahead.
Ms. Alexander, and I didn't hear you.
I didn't want to step on toes, but I believe that was the meeting that you were absent as well. So
That's all I was going to say.
I retract my statement about the minutes. We should go backwards, maybe.
You've already passed it.
So, Ms. Underwood, what needs to be changed? And Mr. Hedger, are you able to make the changes?
Yes, I can make the changes. I don't believe it's necessary for you to redact. I can just make the changes.
Thank you. Was it you were saying? This is by 3:20. Your calendar.
I believe I was here.
I don't think you were.
I don't think you were,
You don't think I was?
Mm-mm.
because we were worried about having quorum.
It was. You were excused.
I wasn't here. Because apparently I gave a report to, I don't know.
It states that you gave a report. I don't see that on the minutes.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe Ms. Zorb gave the report. I don't know.
Is it the dates that are wrong, maybe?
That was the first meeting.
No, it doesn't say that I gave the report, so it's probably Ms. Zorb.
And it's Underwood on here.
All right, are we okay with the minutes now? to
Yeah,
move
I
on?
believe that Mr. Hedger will correct the,
Okay.
correct the minutes.
All right. So we had no communications, and now we will move on to council committees. First up is City Community Development and Recreation.
We had a meeting of City Community Development and Recreation on April the 8th, 6:30 here at the Senior Center. And we had a guest speaker from Vortex Aqua Structures about the splash pad. His name was Brian Eccles. He gave us some information regarding the splash pad. He suggested that the projects need to be adjusted to fit the budget. And he could do some design updates, but the splash pad is going forward. And we talked about homes coming into North College Hill being 1,500 square feet. That came from the Planning Commission. And that was it. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Brenner. Next, we have Budget and Finance.
We met Monday, April 8th, 2024. We got started a little late. We had a loaded agenda. We talked about the 2024 salary ordinance, the ambulance sale, the speed meter, the memorial for William Dunson, the EMS proceeds and where they would go, the 2024 fire sheet, the rental agreement, the tow lot proceeds, the Public Works Department, more specifically their union contract, legislation for minors. We did the financial piece, the splash pad update, the city building update, and old business and new business. I'm going off the agenda, so I will have to get back with you on those two things, but there were two things in those things. And then we adjourned late at like 9:45.
Thank you for that report. Next, we have Rules and Public Policy.
Thank you, Madam President. We haven't met since we met last month Our next meeting will be April 22nd at 6:30.
Next, public safety.
We haven't met since the last committee meeting. We will meet April 22nd at 7:30. I would like to bring up a topic at this point. We had discussed that we would put the committees into one Monday night. Have you made any advances on that yet? Putting all the committees on one night?
Madam President, I have actually, I've kind of figured out what part of the rules we need to adjust.
Perfect.
I just did not bring that for tonight's meeting because we have an executive session, and
Got it.
I will.
Thank you.
I will bring it to our next meeting.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Ms. DeWalt, for bringing that up, and Ms. Underwood for responding. I had also put some thought into that, and I had actually spoken to Mr. Graver about that, because I think we need to have a committee of the whole to try to talk through those changes in the council rules, and we can talk about it down in new business to come up with a date for the committee of the whole.
Okay.
And he gave me his dates, his availability dates for next week if we wanted to look at that.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, are there any ad hoc reports?
Madam President, I was supposed to attend the Board of Education meeting. I did not attend in lieu of attending Ms. Brunner's meeting last week, so I don't have a report there. And I also have a question regarding committees. Do you want to accept my question now or new business?
We can talk about it now.
Mr. Hedger sent out an email asking us to provide minutes, and I just wanted to make sure that you have everything you need from each committee as we go through. I'm not rushing you, but I just want to make sure you have what you need so that we can be in keeping with what your request was.
Yeah, it was pertaining to a public records request, and I believe I did receive a response from all the committee chairs for 24 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And while we're talking about that, I'd just like to throw in there that minutes are not official until they are approved at the next committee meeting. And it's voted on just like we approved the minutes today. That also has to happen in a committee meeting. And they're not official to disseminate for records requests until that happens. All right. I have an ad hoc report. Sorry. I almost forgot. I lost my train of thought. So the North College Hill Tree Commission is having an Arbor Day celebration, and that will be on April 27th. We will meet here at the Senior Center at 10 a.m., and we will be planting some juniper trees at the police station. So please come on up, dig in the mud, have fun. And that's it.
Madam President,
Yes, ma'am.
what time is the cleanup day?
Cleanup day will be April 27th, also at 9 a.m. The cleanup day is an hour before Arbor Day. I mean, the Arbor planting of flowers. So we still looking for volunteers, everybody. Come on out. It's going to be fun. We're going to have music, water, pizza, donuts, and bring the kids. Everybody's welcome. Oh, and it also will be a reduce, recycle, reuse drive-through for soft plastics. Plastic garbage bags, plastic pallet wraps, bread bags, dry cleaning bags, plastic newspaper sleeves, plastic package overwrap, bubble wrap, plastic shipping mailers, and air balloons. That's at 10 a.m., also April 27th.
Thank you, Ms. Brunner. All right, next on the agenda, we have administrative reports. Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. President. I have a couple of things. again, the senior citizens have sent out a special request for council member and city workers. The tentative date is April 29th between 10 and 11 for the volleyball challenge. It's a challenge, not a game. So those of you who would like to attend or participate should get with Miss Ellis. Again, also Miss Lori Platt from OKI did reach out. I know Miss DeWalt talked about that. I believe it was at our last meeting. They are looking for representation from council, so if anyone is available. I believe Ms. DeWalt is 4 meetings per year,
Yes.
so I'm not sure. I know everyone works, so I don't know. We need to keep that representation, so I'm not sure what that looks like for council. Additionally, I had a request from a department head that when committee meetings are held, if you could possibly put the department heads to come to your meeting at the top of your agenda, because sometimes your agenda is really long and they're typically at the end. So they're just requesting, if possible, if they could be at the top of your agenda to, you know, regurgitate any information that they may have or just get you whatever they need or what you've asked for. So, Ms. Duke-Steen, I know we were talking about the salary ordinance. I'll have that for you before the next meeting. I don't think you're going to do a special meeting or anything prior to, so. And that's all I have. Oh, no, never mind, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Next is City Administrator. That position is not filled, so we'll move on to the Law Director.
Madam President, I have no report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dieters. Next is the Finance Director. Did I see her?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry. I do want to mention when you said that I am in the process of trying to interview for an interim or a city administrator. We're just taking our time to make sure we get the right person in that position.
Thank you. Next up is the Finance Director. No report. I'm sorry. Thank you. For those in TV land, she said no report, still working on numbers. Next, we'll have call of members. Ms. Dewald, can you go first?
Sure. I would like to address Ms. Dukes-Dean, if I could, regarding, well, no, never mind. I don't want to do that right now. Never mind. I have nothing.
All right. Ms. Dukes-Dean.
Happy to see so many people in our audience. That's all. Thank you.
Oh, Madam President,
Ms. Dewald.
I did have one other thing. I believe somebody in the room has a birthday, and it might be the mayor, and I believe birthday greetings are in order.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm 25.
All right now.
All right. We going to go back to you again? You're
I'm
good now?
finished.
All right.
Well, wait. No, just kidding.
All right, so a couple things that I wanted to point out. I was going to talk about the volleyball, but I don't have to now. I can't wait. 4/29 at 10 a.m., 10 to 11, right? That's what I had, 10 to 11-ish. All right, I'll be there doing my arm exercises. Next, I was asked by a resident to talk about Frisch's. Apparently, there is concern around the Frisch's location being closed down in North College Hill. I went ahead and talked to the president of the Planning Commission and asked if, in lieu of us not having a city administrator right now, that because it would probably fall under their job requirements, but in lieu of that, I reached out to the Planning Commission president and asked if he would make a contact with them to find out what their future plans are. Are they selling the building? Are they releasing the building? What? Just try to get a better understanding to know what the city should do or if the city needs to get involved or anything like that. So we're still waiting on that feedback. And I think that is all I have, other than I hope everyone has their taxes in. Today's tax day. All right, Ms. Alexander.
I don't have anything this evening.
Ms. Bruner?
I don't have anything.
Mr. Davis?
And I was absent from the previous meeting, so I forgot to mention also a happy birthday up top to Mr. Deacon William K. Dunson. His birthday was April 2nd, so also his memory is a blessing and will be honored. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Ms. Underwood?
I would also like to say happy birthday to our mayor. And if I had a singing voice, I would probably belt out a song, but just
It's in there.
it's in there. There you go. And I would also like to mention to Madam President that Frisch's was sold to a Atlanta-based private equity fund back in 2015. So we also have that to deal with. It's not even a local owner anymore, which is why I think a lot of the restaurants went downhill the way that they did. They just didn't take care of Frisch's because they didn't, they're not from here. So
Right.
they didn't understand what it meant to this community. So
That explains a lot.
it is. So that's all I have.
Thank you for that. All right. Next, we have remarks from the audience. Mr. Hedger, has anyone signed in for this evening?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes. First, we have a Clarence Easterling. Sorry about that.
Please state your name and address, please.
Clarence Easterling, 1619 West Belmar Place. I just wanted to say that I'm sorry that Mrs. Jennifer Eakey is no longer our administrator. She really took care of business and she took care of the concerns of this particular citizen. When we were surveying where to live, we went up and down streets and there was a great big hole in West Belmar that had been there for a year. And when we moved there, spoke to Mrs. Eakey, and I think within 2 weeks it was covered. And we also needed a handicap parking space. And she got it done, I think within 2 weeks. What I didn't know is that when you're parking on a regular street, the sign denotes the end of the parking spot. But in a residential area, the sign is smack in the middle. So I had trouble with people encroaching on the spot so that I couldn't park. But I mentioned it to Mrs. Eakey, and the very next day they had painted signs or painted lines. So what I would like to say is I hope when you do get your new administrator, they're as responsive to citizen needs as Mrs. Eakey was. It's a shame. I know that we're not privy, to the inner workings of HR and all that, but from my perspective, she did a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Easterling. Mr. Hedger?
Thank you. Next, we have Kathy Curtin.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Council, Administration, guest. Kathy Curitan, 6718 Devonwood Drive. I was present for one, and I asked a couple of questions. I did not receive a response to all of the questions, so I'm here present to gather a question. These questions were also asked at the 318 meeting, which is now a month later. So I really want to know, I'm excited to hear, and first of all, happy birthday, Madam Mayor. I would just really like to know, are we going to consider community involvement with hiring the city administrator?
To be honest, that wasn't anything that I thought about, and No, not at this time. I mean, we would have to collaborate to see what that looks like. I mean, I'm not opposed to one, but, you know, I'll say it when there's a multiple people, you know. In the past, we've done that for the police chief, so I'm not opposed to it.
He or she would not be an elected official. It's someone who's hired directly by you. And so we've gone through 4 or 5 in the last 3 or 4 years.
No, that's not true.
How many? Well, someone can correct me. How many?
We've only had 2 administrators since I've been in, Mr. Mosby and Ms. Icky. So that's 4 years.
Was Cheryl Long not the city manager?
Not under me. But you said,
right. I'm not talking about under you. I'm
said,
speaking in general.
Okay, when you said
Yeah.
4 to 5, okay.
There's
So
been a high
Cheryl
turnover.
Long, yes.
Okay, great. So I would just ask that administration and council, which should also be a part of that process, consider having community involvement. As Mr. Easterling said, he had a pleasant experience with Ms. Icky. Some others may not have had that. I think it's super important because this person plays a significant role for our city, a huge role. And I think it would just be super helpful that we would consider community involvement, and something of that would consider maybe having the final 3 candidates to say, this is who I'm considering. You, of course, would make the final determination, but to offer us citizens a chance to put a name with a face versus just someone coming to fill in a seat at the next meeting, I think that would be extremely helpful.
Madam President, Ms. Curtin, just so you are aware, the last Ms. Icky, that was her hiring process. There was a panel, Ms. Zorb, Ms. Dukes-Dean, Chief Cheney, Chief Fells. Trying to remember who else, ladies, help me. Was that it?
That was it.
That was it. So we did have a panel
Okay.
for that. It just wasn't a citizen,
Right.
per se.
Let me be a little bit more specific.
You're
I'm
talking about a
talking
community
about
member.
non-council, non-administration, a citizen, an everyday
Understand that.
person.
That's why I said you're
Yeah.
referring to
Okay.
a citizen.
Yes, I am. I also wanted to just piggyback. I know this has been a sensitive topic, but I just really want to know, is our fire department satisfied? Have we met all of their concerns? Are there still lingering issues that still need to be addressed and reconciled? Anyone can answer that if you're privy to that information.
Madam President,
16.
2 things. With the city administrator, I'm not sure if I'm not trying to,
Feel free, go ahead.
okay, thank you. But the city administrator is appointed by the mayor. They work
That's
so
correct.
closely together, and that has to be a successful relationship with them under the advisement of council.
Right.
Because there are so many duties and responsibilities that service the city. I understand the community engagement, and we do want that tremendously. But the lion's share of that work happens behind the scenes. And so a lot of their performance and evaluations are based on that. Community engagement is a very small portion of that role. So I just want you to keep that in consideration. I'm not actually saying.
I would disagree with you based on Mr. Easterling's share tonight. I would 100% disagree with you. Although that administration per mayor, she does the hiring and the firing as is, I believe that the city administrator, or I would consider a city manager, plays a significant role outside of just council and administration. And I strongly believe that as citizens whom she serves, he or she will serve in the future, should have an opportunity to put a name with a face. I'm not saying that anything that we offer as feedback will definitely be listened to. What I'm saying is that we deserve, because there's been so much happening, we deserve that opportunity. And it's up to you all to make that decision. I'm not here to just say, hey, let's do it. I am only offering a suggestion.
What I was about to say is that I'm not disagreeing that there should or shouldn't be community involvement. I'm saying that the community and the face-to-face work that role does based on the job description is small. So that does not encompass the amount of where one's performance is gauged.
Sure.
So I'm okay with that. If
Okay.
Mayor would like to include that, I would be okay with that. I'm just saying so
Sure.
that you have an understanding of how that role is selected.
Absolutely.
just that. And then as for the fire department, I do not believe that every single Chief Plackey is here tonight. But I do not believe that every single one of their things that they were
Demands.
feeling uneasy about are met. I think that it is a work in progress. We are trying to work through as a city to make sure that their needs are met and that the city can feel comfortable with what the balances are between their department and how we will move forward. It's been a pleasure to work with Chief Plackey in the ways that I have. I'm not the sole person working with anybody. I think Mayor and our new finance manager, Jeanette Anderson, has been working with them to kind of get their concerns talked about and worked through.
Good. And I would just hope that we would consider moving forward and having those conversations, not when there is just a problem, but just ongoing healthy dialogue. And as I witnessed last Monday, I extremely am pleased with the camaraderie that was displayed amongst council during the Budget and Finance meeting. That was extremely rewarding to see, even though there were disagreements. So I would appreciate if you all would continue, when I say you all, I'm speaking of council, administration, fire, and police, continue to have those healthy conversations that will allow our city to have a better depiction of what others consider it to be at this time. And then lastly, actually 2 more questions. One is, I think this is for our law director, Mr. Dieters. Good evening or welcome back, sir. Do we have, and also Madam Mayor, do we know who was in charge of both of the police and fire investigations? I recall maybe last week or the week prior, we were having conversations. Have we hired anyone to do those investigations regarding Petroselli, Shrand, and Chief Ells?
You want to answer it? Yeah, there's an individual who is doing that, a former HR person.
And can you tell me the start date and how much time it will approximately take?
I could not tell.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you how long it's going to take, but I know they're beginning this week.
They're beginning this week. Thank you so much, sir. And then,
Madam President,
yes,
to your
ma'am.
point, she did say it would take some time.
Okay,
And
all right.
there is someone else doing Petroselli's.
Got you. Yes, ma'am. So Petroselli's has not been started or will not be started this week.
Do you know?
Okay, all right. Because I saw the flyer that our police, they need support, and I am 100% pro-police, and I would expect that they would get all of the support that they need because they definitely support us. And lastly, I don't think
Ms.
we...
Keratin, I'm sorry. Can
Yes,
I
ma'am.
interrupt you for a
Yes,
quick
ma'am.
second? I would like some clarity in that question myself. So, Mr. Dieters, you're saying that HR person is going to begin the investigation this week for Shrand and Fells? Or I just need specifics.
I think some of those things are things I plan on discussing with council in executive session because some of those are attorney-client privilege information. I can tell you that investigations have begun regarding police department. I don't know about the fire department at this point in time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for
Sorry, Ms.
clarifying that.
Keratin. Please proceed.
No, not a problem, and thank you for clarifying that. Just a very last question. It's been about a little bit under 30 days. Can we identify, and I continue to hear every meeting, the city manager is needed, or his or her roles are needed here, but there's a gap. Who's filling in that gap right now? I know that interims are coming, but currently, is there anyone doing the day-to-day operations for city management?
Madam Chair,
Madam Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
most of those things that I can do, I'm doing them.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it all comes to me.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Keratin. Mr. Hedger, has anyone else signed in?
No, Madam President.
Thank you, sir. All right. right, let's move on to legislation. Mr. Hedger?
Thank you, Madam President. I have second reading resolution number 5, resolution number 5, 2024, a resolution to authorize the clerk of council to post pending legislation on the website on or before the date of the first reading. Second reading ordinance number 1, 2024, an ordinance to create a special revenue fund to deposit emergency medical services billing revenue.
Madam President,
Ms. Dewell?
discussion on ordinance 1, please.
Sure.
It was discussed in the meeting that this was to rectify some changes that were made in the past year, and that a percentage was going to go back into the general fund. This legislation before us, and I know we still have another reading left on it, doesn't tell us what percentage it is, if at all. And I think that if we want this legislation to have any kind of bite to it, we need to have all that information in the legislation. I'd like council to think about that. We still have another 2 weeks to look at this legislation and to maybe make changes if council so desires.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Dukes?
I'm sorry, not Madam Chair, Madam President. You're usually Madam Chair.
I'll answer anything. Go ahead.
Thank you. She has a new role tonight, sorry. But we talked about that in committee. We did address the fact that it did not include a percentage. And I'm not saying this as a debate, just for information, because not everyone that sits on council was in that conversation. Decide how you will. But we did talk about that in committee, and Mayor Nichols addressed this, that she felt that, or they were going to bring the percentage, if one, later in another piece of legislation.
Madam President,
Ms. Dewell?
2 words I wanted to pick up out of that is if and later. If and later. So it's presented to us that we're going to put some of this money back into the fund, but now the answer is if and later. So I know that the residents are concerned, and they should be, that there's a lack of transparency. The lack of transparency is amongst council members as well. So we are doing the best that we can, and if I don't ask these questions, I don't know that they'll ever get answered. Also, it was brought up that the police department would not be able to take money and put it into a special fund from the tow lot for themselves. However, when the tow lot was set up, we had an account set up for the tow lot with the idea that they would be able to set money aside like the fire department does with the EMS. But that was shot down, if I'm not mistaken.
Madam President. Madam President.
Madam President.
Ms. Dukes-Dean was first.
We did talk about both those two issues in the Budget and Finance Committee, and the issues were handled the exact same. Ms. Dewald, I'm not sure at what point you left, so you may not have heard the resolution. So what was agreed is that both of the two issues would be given over to Mr. Dieters to draw legislation, because not all of council is in Budget and Finance, and Ms. Zorb said that she didn't feel like it represented all of us, and so the best way to handle the representation across council is to create legislation, and that we would vote on both of those. And then to speak to the if in the EMS funds, we are still talking with the for transparency, we are still talking with the firefighters. That conversation hasn't happened. So we don't have any further progression on that issue. For those of you in the audience and council, that meeting was last Monday, and we still have a meeting forward on the calendar. We can't include something on the legislation that has not yet been discussed. that is one of those areas where we're looking to make sure that everybody feels satisfied in going forward, including the fire department and the city. And we will continue to talk about that in budget and finance so that we can get to the right space. But part of the legislation that is here before us is something that we need to do right away.
Madam Pro Tem, I need to make that correction because I said Madam President before, and you're not. Regarding,
I believe Ms. Underwood.
oh,
was
I'm
next.
so sorry, I wasn't aware of that.
Ms. Underwood.
Thank you. What I was going to suggest is that since the legislation is approaching a third reading, maybe we could ask Chief Plackey to come and explain to us during our next meeting, if he so is willing to do that, how the EMS billing works, what the fire department's concerns are with regard to that, so that we can hear directly from them. And also, Chief, I'm looking at him, Chief Cheney, looking right at him, can come and explain the same thing with the tow lot. That way, we can hear directly from the heads with regard to that particular legislation in those particular situations. I think that that would be the best way for us to not only hear kind of an explanation, what their concerns are, and also we can ask questions and get the answer directly from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. I would completely agree with that because I will tell you my own personal concern is I want to hear that percentage before I vote on this for the second. And I know that the next reading is at our next council meeting. I'm curious, Chief Plackey, would you be comfortable at all talking to us tonight about this?
Yeah.
Could I get you to go to a microphone, please? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I know you're here and we've already had a couple readings on this, so if we can get information sooner, I'd prefer to get it sooner than later.
So with regard to the EMS billing, there was, believe there was some confusion as far as what's coming back to the fire department in this special revenue fund. There was no discussion about the percentage of the special revenue fund. There was nothing regarding that. I believe there was some confusion about the money that was coming from the general fund, our general fund allotment that we get from the city every year. So there is no percentage. We would like it all back, hypothetically. We all know it's there. We just want it back in the fire department's budget because that is money that we as firefighters work for. We put in the time and effort to get it, and we use it on EMS supplies, fuel, maintenance, all the things that we strive to decrease our reliance on the general fund. So does that explain it?
Madam President.
May I ask a question first? I'm sorry. So I heard you mention the general fund in there and the EMS special, billing line. So are you saying that you want to diminish your general fund and not the EMS billing? Or I was confused when you mentioned the general fund,
correct.
so I just need some clarity around that.
The percentage I'm not sure where that discussion ever happened because it didn't happen with me as far as a discussion about percentages coming out of the general fund and coming back to us. The original plan is that we wanted it all back because it's money that we work for. We sit up. I mean, I have a lieutenant that's sitting over there in the room now that sits up till 2 o'clock in the morning on our shifts, making sure our run reports are filled out appropriately so we can bill them effectively and get the most money back from the insurance companies. So we use that money to supplement our budget.
I think there's some confusion that maybe I could, instead of running around like the tree here. Right. So all the EMS billing always went into an account line item that was used by the fire department to purchase equipment and supplies. At some point, when the new administration took over, they could not find the legislation for the special revenue fund. So whatever the balance in that account was transferred to the general fund. The purpose of the legislation that you have in front of you is to create the special revenue fund, take the money that was already in that other account, transfer it back into that special revenue fund, and then all future revenue would also go there. The only part that I think might have got a little confusing is the legislation doesn't specifically talk about transferring it back, which we could easily amend if that's what we want. But that was the intent of it, that EMS money had always been used only for the purchasing of fire EMS equipment. So I think the percentage part is a whole nother issue regarding general fund and how general fund issues were dealt with from the fire levy, which I don't even know enough about that right now to speak intelligently about. But I think the confusion on the special revenue fund is what I just said. I think that's what it is. Correct?
Yes, thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
So,
Madam
Mr. Peters,
President.
I will tell you that there was a specific conversation at the finance meeting that said there was a percentage of the EMS billing, only a percentage, and there was no number thrown out, but there was only going to be a percentage of the EMS billing would go into this special fund and not all of it.
Okay. So
No.
that's
That
new
was
information
that was
to
the
me.
conversation that was at the finance department meeting the other night.
Yes, that was brought up, and that discussion never happened with me nor Chief Fells, and I believe that there was some confusion about what was said, that there is no percentage of the EMS billing money that's going to come back to us. Like, we wanted what was put in the general fund to come back to us, all of it that was put in the general fund, not just a percentage.
Madam President.
Even going forward.
Yes.
So I definitely spoke to Chief Fells, and well, it's hard to decipher Chief Fells, Chief Blackie, and I think you were present when we spoke, and I was also in the budget and finance meeting that was stated, and since then, per the conversations, we have understood more what the focus needs to be, and we have not had that meeting. I know for sure there is a meeting on the calendar. It may not be a percentage of the EMS funds. That may not come down the pike at all, which is why you heard me say if, but there are other things that are being proposed by our finance manager that would speak to an offset of funds being applied differently. We can't answer questions on conversations that haven't been had yet. And that was a misunderstanding. It really, really was just a misunderstanding. After talking to everyone involved, it was just a misstep. There's a lot of issues regarding the finances for the firefighters or the fire department's budget, and we're trying to get abreast of everything. I shouldn't say we, but administration. So with that being said, there is a meeting that is on the calendar set to happen to discuss these very issues.
Madam President.
Yes, Ms. Underwood.
So, Chief Plackey, I just want to be clear. So, historically, you believe that the legislation for the special revenue fund did exist. Is that right?
Yes, that was my assumption for the past decade, is that it did exist somewhere, and we've been doing it that way for the last decade at least.
Okay, and historically,
Ms. Underwood, can you speak into the microphone?
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Thank you.
Thought I was. And historically, there's a difference. And historically, all of the EMS billing funds went into that special revenue fund, even though I couldn't find the legislation either, but historically it did go into that special revenue fund.
Correct.
And can you explain in detail, like, what it is you have to do? Like, it's not automatic, right?
No,
Okay.
it's not. It is not automatic.
So how is it that you hustle, that's the word I'm going to use, to get that EMS billing money into that fund?
So it starts with making an EMS run, and we write a report. The report's generated. It gets sent to insurance billing company. They have people that read it, or our EMS billing company that we use, Med Account Management. They actually read the report, They look at what we've done, and they do the medical coding billing assessment on it. And what we've done on those runs may generate a higher bill. I mean, we may not get all that back from that one run, but we try to make our reports as detailed as possible for continuity of care and other things, and along with getting the most bang for our buck back from the insurance agencies.
Okay. So, and that is just, our North College Hill Fire Department has been successful with that because of the level of detail that you put into the reports that you provide to that company. Is
That's
that right?
correct. In the past year, we've been at a 92% return rate, which is the highest in Hamilton County.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you have anything else that you'd like to add to that?
Do you have any further questions for me? I mean, I'll put together something and explain it at the finance meeting a little more in detail.
The next finance meeting will be too late for this legislation.
Or what, I thought we
Would
were,
have to be at the next council meeting.
The 22nd.
okay.
It'd have to be at
You said the next
council
meeting, right?
The next
So,
council meeting.
I meant the next council meeting,
Okay.
but maybe
Yep.
you could come to the public safety meeting even,
Yeah.
which is next week at 7:30.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That will be very good information, because that's very misleading from what council was thinking and what was presented
Yeah, I
originally
can
to council.
I can understand. I didn't have the ability to be here the last meeting, but I was watching via the internet, and yeah, that there was some confusion in some of the discussions. So we're still in talks, like Ms. Dukestein said, that we're working on trying to figure out. I mean, like you said, the finances are a little crazy right now, and we're trying to work everything out and get everything ironed out. So,
Great. Thank you.
yep, thank you.
Thank you for being spontaneous with that. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for bringing up the discussion, by the way, Misty Wald. Further remarks from the audience as it pertains to legislation? I'm sorry?
And we talking about this one right here. Did you just?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna have to go
State your
home.
name and your address, please,
Victor
sir.
Wilson, 6930 Kleindale Avenue. But I'm gonna have to go home and rethink this, because that didn't make no sense at all.
Ask a question so because I was
that-
trying to offer some clarity.
Okay.
I apologize, Madam President.
It didn't make any sense at all. So
Okay.
my question is, how is it that me as a citizen can get a better clarity of that legislation because I'm lost?
Okay. So that gentleman over there, is he still over there? I can't see him.
Yes.
Chief Plackey, he is the acting chief of the fire department. He's a very approachable man. If you have a question, you can just walk right up to him, introduce yourself, and ask your question.
Thank you, ma'am.
Madam President,
Ms. Dukestein.
I would ask that Mr. Dieters say it again, because
Yeah,
I think your
I think I explained
explanation
it last
of the
time,
current
but Victor,
legislation.
So EMS billing, whenever we do an EMS run, whether it's an ALS run, which is a paramedic run, or a BLS, which is an EMT run, your health insurance covers that. So if we have an accident on Galbraith Avenue, we take somebody to the hospital on an ALS run, and we figure out that they have health insurance, we can bill their health insurance company. And their health insurance company reimburses us a certain amount for the cost of that run. And it's based on rates that are set by Medicaid or Medicare. I can't remember which one of those two, but basically it's a federal rate, depending on what level of service you provide and what drugs you use, et cetera. So almost every fire department agency contracts with a company. Most of them use, I think it's Medi-Account management. And they help facilitate making those collections for us. And of course, as part of that, they take a little bit off the top, and then the rest comes back to us. We typically don't get full reimbursement because the Medicare rate doesn't necessarily cover all of our cost, but it does cover a significant amount of it. And it's a common practice almost everywhere in the United States, but certainly in Hamilton County very much so. So the question really was where did that money go? And like Ms. Underwood asked the question of Chief Plackey, I think for forever we've always been putting it in this particular fund that we could not locate the legislation for the apparently created the fund some time ago. So that's what you have there, just to put that back together.
That help?
Madam President, I'm sorry.
Actually, Ms. Curitin's up there. Can we?
Go ahead, Ms. Dusting.
Go ahead.
So I think what the legislation itself is about is we have been doing it one way for a very long time, historically. And then under our previous administration, it was changed. And so this legislation puts a rule, if you will, in place to continue doing it that way and to bring the funds that were removed out of that account back into the account that it historically had always, the way that it had always been used. So that's what the legislation on our agenda tonight, the reading, is about.
Isn't this discussion that we're having the very thing that caused ICRC and fails to fall out? Yes. It's not. You're saying yes, you're saying no. I'm going to go with yes. This was part of his grievance with our city. And here we are with an interim. And thank you, Chief Plackey, because you're filling some really big shoes. And you shouldn't have to deal with this fire. But we have to get this together. Someone made a comment, our finances are just out of whack right now. Excuse me? Our finances, I'm passionate, so please don't take my tone of voice as a sign of disrespect. But our finances should not be out of whack. In fact, when we made those executive decisions to let Fails go on interim leave, to do all of the administrative changes that we did in March, our finances, when Janetta Anderson was hired, should have been our top priority. Get our dollars balanced to the penny. There are no excuses that our books are still out of balance. And there are even, I'm kind of concerned because I'm hearing from Budget and Finance and from our finance, and again, Ms. Anderson, thank you, because you're filling some really big shoes. I'm hearing that you all are having these discussions, and then we hear from our interim chief, and he's like, these are the same things. Well, let me just finish, and if we can, respectfully, these are the same things that Chief Fails and former city administrator Jennifer ICRC that caused this huge uproar in our city. Why are we still at the same position we were 30 days ago? So my question is, today is now April 15th. When, this is a question I would like to have answered, when will our books be balanced? Because this is not okay. This is a complete embarrassment to our city, especially with all of the media coverage that we have. And then we're throwing people into interim roles here and there and expecting them to put out these huge fires, and we're not balancing our books. And fire, I asked that question this evening, are we meeting the demands of the fire department? Thank you, Chief Plackey, for your transparency, because we're not. What is going on, y'all? What is going on? Please do not pacify me or other citizens with some, whatever you want to do. Give us the real deal. Communicate with us. If it's broken, let us know. If you're working to fix it, let us know. But please do not be deceitful. Please, I'm asking you all, be transparent.
I'm going to chime in myself, sorry. So, Ms. Curitin,
Yes, ma'am.
I can't say that I disagree with anything that you just said. I would also like to point out that I believe you're aware, there was in 2019, this city was declared inauditable by the state of Ohio. And that was because our books were horrible. part of the reason when Ms. Nichols had a panel to hire a city administrator, one of the big charges was fix the books. Get us to the point where our books are where they should be. Fix all these audit findings. We have just recently so we got past the inauditable stage. And forgive me, I tend to not put enough syllables in the word inauditable. But we are now to the point where there are several findings still from the state auditors. So we are still in a place where we are trying to rectify all of those items. And part of that was this EMS billing thing. So that this legislation will help that. There were things like timesheets. The auditor said we have to have timesheets, and we don't have them yet. So there are things that we are still working through. And I believe the next audit starts in June? Maybe?
June or July.
June or July. So the state will be here again, checking every book, checking every line item, doing all the cross-checks, and we'll have hopefully a good result.
Yeah, and I'm not looking for perfection. I'm not looking for that at all. But I'm asking for when Mr. Reyes Dufstein, when we have our budget and finances, it's not to you, but you are the chair. Please let us know where there are deficiencies as you can, because some things are not permissible, but as you can, because when we had the meeting last week, what's being stated today is not the same that was told to us last week. And as the chair of that committee, I am asking for you to take that lead and work directly with those in administration to make sure, because it's very embarrassing.
Madam Chair.
Madam
President.
President.
Madam Pro Tem.
Hang on. So, Ms. Anderson, could I please get you to come to a microphone?
Okay, so the first thing I want to clarify is that the city is in a good state.
Thank you.
Our books are good. We have more money in the bank. There's a difference between fund accounting and actual world money. Our bank, we have more than what's being said in CMI, which is our accounting software. For the purposes of auditing, for the purposes of balancing the bank rec, for the purpose of everything landing in the right fund, those things are off, and not even by much. I've come into other municipalities way worse, way worse than this. We are in good standing financially. The books, the software that we enter either receipts or checks, expenditures, those are not lining up with the bank, but the bank shows the real picture of where we are, and we're good. We are good. So that's number one. Number two, there was a misunderstanding at the Budget and Finance meeting. What I did not mean to say, and if it came across that way, then I apologize, but what I did not mean to say or to convey is that all of the monies or a percentage of the monies were going to go back into the EMS fund. That is not what I meant to say. All of the funds, once we get legislation passed, will continue to go into the EMS fund as it always has. It's just that, and I'm not going to be specific, I'm not going to say what the percentage word came about, because we were in negotiations to talk about offsetting, now bringing some money back into the general fund, because I was concerned about the general fund taking a big hit. So as long as, and I understand that the EMS worked hard for it, we don't want to touch their money, they've done, I had a wonderful meeting with Chief Phils. Absolutely admirable, all the things that he said to me. He also extended, just as a suggestion, didn't know that we were going to talk about legislation around it or anything like that, but just as a way of him working with the city, showing that he was willing to work with the city, we're all one big organization. It's not, there's no you and then there's me and then, you know what I mean? We're here to work together. So that was his intent, I do believe. And my intent was just to convey his intent, which was to work with the city. And I think it got confused.
Madam President.
Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Dukestein.
I don't want to jump out of turn, and I think that there were other people ahead of me, but before she steps away from the lectern, I have a question for her to answer because she's better suited to answer this. And can you tell us about the audit and where we are today?
Yes, so there is it's called the Hinkle Report. It's due at the end of the year. We are behind on that report. It's just financial reportings that the state requires. Typically, what I've been used to doing is it in December, really with the actual end of the year. But from what I understand, it's due, and we've been filing it, maybe historically a little bit late. But it's been being filed. Bank recs had been being done. I had a meeting with Ms. Dukestein earlier, and I was able to show her that there is an amount that we just don't know where it is, but it's an over amount. It's not under. So we just have to find that and then post it in CMI, and it will balance. It will show CMI and the bank will then be balanced. And what I'm proposing is to meet with Ms. Dukestein every month. For some reason, bank recs didn't have a signature line on it. I'm used to having at least 2 signatures, someone looking at it and making sure that all of the monies are lining up each month. Each and every month, this should be happening.
Exactly.
If not 2, all of council.
Right.
So that there is that transparency. We wouldn't get this out there that we're not doing well because you're going to look at it every month. And you're going to sign off on it.
May I ask what that dollar amount is that is not lining up?
Not even $45,000. But like I said, those are funds that are, our bank shows more money than what we have in the CMI software system. And as you know, CMI software system is just a checks and balance of what's in the bank.
Sure.
Madam Chair, President.
I believe Ms. Dewald, are you?
I only wanted to interrupt to make sure that Ms. Anderson had a time to speak.
All right.
Ms. Anderson, for the folks out here that do not know what CMI.
Oh, CMI is our accounting software.
Okay.
Comparable to UAN, which is also governed by the state of Ohio.
Okay.
I find it to be a very doable software. I've never worked with it before, but I will be working. We're not switching to UAN. It's a doable software. So we own the right to an upgrade. So we're upgrading. You'll find that systems are going to run smoother. We're also switching over from Paycor over to the payroll portion of CMI. So everything will be in-house. We won't be going to Paycor. Everything will be doing, and the systems are going to work out much, much better, much smoother.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Madam President.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Madam Mayor.
I just wanted to clarify and just to let our citizens know, you can go out on the auditor's website and view those audits. The one thing, the audit did not have financial findings. It was procedural and policy findings.
Correct.
So it wasn't any out of cash findings.
Correct.
It was procedures that needed to be in place. It has been continual. We've, in some aspects, tried to get some of those things worked out. For whatever reason, some of them fall through the cracks, but we are working diligently to get some of those things taken care of. Again, there were not financial findings. It was just procedure and policy findings.
Madam President.
Ms. Dukestein.
Okay, so I wanted to give everybody who had said something or said that they wanted to talk an opportunity to address Ms. Kirton. First of all, in the budget and finance, I do try to be as transparent as I can. It is not my desire to be withholding of information. But the information that you all are getting, some of it is based on news, Facebook. But I never said that our finances were a mess. And if you come to the budget and finance, no, I wasn't saying that they were a mess, period. I'm saying that the communication to get all of the workings from the fire department and what we were trying to work to settle there has been a bit of a mess, not the overall finances. You never heard me say that because they aren't.
I'm sorry, I do not want to interrupt you, and it's not my turn. But what you're saying is that we're a little off balance. Our finances are a little off balance. That's what I said tonight.
But it is a little off balance from the $45,000 that we are more. That's a little off balance. That does not indicate a mess. Those are two very different statements. A little off balance is very different than a mess. So I want to clarify that because that is extrapolating something that I did not say. A little off balance is $45,000 to our advantage. We're in the plus, and we've actually known that for a while.
Correct.
And so does that mean, so to your point though, we want to balance to the penny.
Exactly.
That's our goal. but we're
it.
not in this big huge deficit that we don't know where our resources are. If that is the picture that you're getting, that's not true. Just like because the audits are based on more than just finances.
Correct.
They're procedural
That's
as
what she
well.
said. It's correct.
And that's what Mayor was just trying to explain. So what I think is happening is there's a misunderstanding of like and maybe I don't want to be presumptuous, but maybe your idea of an audit is that they're only like laser focusing on our finances, but that's not true. There are other a broad range of things that are being focused on, which is why Mayor is clarifying to you that it's also procedural things.
Correct.
That's not our finances. Our finances have been fine. If you think that I am not being transparent, please go out there and look at the audits. And you probably will take your audit findings and put it in one of the other committees as your questions, not budget and finance, because budget and finance, we've actually been clear for a while. So I want you to go back and look at that. And then, again, we don't want to be out of balance with the bank. So that was me being transparent by saying we're a little out of balance. That's transparency. $45,000 to the budget that we have in our plus is not big. It's not huge. That, to me, that is being transparent with you. I specifically give you a number because every day Ms. Anderson is working very hard to close that gap so we
Correct.
figure it out. It could, and I'll be honest, when we met just today, it could actually be that there was projected spendings. And because we changed hands from one administrator to another, maybe there was something that we had allocated for that we didn't actually spend because that administrator didn't know to pay for that. Meaning that it could have just been like, oh, we plan to put lines on the street here and that's going to cost us X, Y, and Z. But we didn't actually do it because that information there was a gap between our former administrator before Ms. Icky and Ms. Icky coming in. It could have actually been money that we had allocated for that we didn't spend, but I'm not saying it's that, but that could be an example of why something like this could happen. And we're trying to figure that out. And because we're trying to figure that out, I just feel like we need to have the conversations. And then, so one of the other things that you raised was that why this came about in terms of the fire department. This was one, you said talk louder? Oh, okay. This was one of the things that the fire department was upset about. So when you say, is this the reason we had the uproar? No, there was a collective amount. And I think everyone in council will say that there were other reasons. Was this a part of it? Yes. And that's what, don't you think that we are doing the right thing by having conversations to get to the right place? That's not going to be solved overnight. So the conversations have to be had. And so the firefighters came back, but because some of their things were checked. This is still one that we're trying to figure out. So to your expression that we're not working fast enough. There were, at least that's how it felt.
Yeah.
So if that's not what you were relaying, that's fine, but I'll approach that and say, it's not gonna happen overnight. We want to get to the right place. So maybe just satiating the fire department, doing this, doing that. We are talking with the fire department to come up with a better pathway for our city, for our citizens forward. It may not look the same as what we had before. Some things may look the same, but we have to have those conversations, and it has to be one issue at a time, because there were big issues on their to-do list. And so give the administration time to have those conversations. Like I tried to satiate that with you when I said, we have not actually had the meeting to talk about this specific split or what that looks like.
Correct.
So I was trying to give you, that was my way of saying to you, this hasn't happened yet. There's more information to come. The legislation on the agenda tonight is about what has happened in the past and correcting that. The conversations in the meeting that we have is where will we go forward?
Correct.
Because they may not look the same, not for the fire department and not for the city. And I think Chief Plackey can get right in there and say he's been very earnest at having conversations. The conversations have been friendly and positive, and we want to keep that momentum going. So I don't feel like I have not been transparent in the budget and finance. But to understand how that stuff translates, maybe I can say it better, because maybe I haven't said it in a way that is digestible to what you're actually thinking. But in terms of the audit findings, I don't address those because they're not issues for us in the budget and finance meeting. The general fund, it's up, it's not down. We're not a total mess. So that's all.
Just one last question. Thank you for sharing. Can you just clarify, what is the last year that North College Hill has successfully, whether we've been over or under, doesn't matter whether it was financial or procedural, what is the last time North College Hill has successfully passed the audit?
Oh, gosh. We have passed every audit. What we're referring to are what's called management letters. So in those management letters, there are certain things that they would suggest that we do. So every audit has been passed. You have a management letter that also that tells you, well, okay, this fund wasn't done, it needs to be transferred. So there's a list of things. And in fact, I found in looking through some papers in the desk that they were actually in the process of making those transfers into the correct accounts. Certain fund accounts, when you pay something out of it, has to go for certain things. So you can't just randomly choose a fund and make a payment out of it. So if you've made a payment out of an incorrect fund, well, the auditors are going to come and say, you didn't pay that out the right fund. So now we need you to transfer this dollar back into this to offset or to make it whole.
I just want to challenge you, and I don't want to prolong this because it's been enough, but in May 19, 2022, Ohio Auditor Favor declares the city of North College Hill as unauditable. And I'm probably not using enough syllables, but that was May of 2022. So maybe not tonight, but that was.
Now that, and I'd have to take a look at it, but that could be from a standpoint of the books not lining up with the bank account. Purely that. And we all know that in real time, they are not the same. It could be that there's some receipts or some checks that just hasn't been entered into a CMI, and therefore it's not going to balance. I'm just giving you an example of what it could be. It could be a wide variety of things, not necessarily that some wrongdoing was done.
Madam President, just Ms. Curitan, it was 4 receipts, was it 4 or 3? And it was turned in within 24 hours.
Which makes us back auditable.
I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure it was a whole lot more than that.
Yeah,
it was more
There-
than that.
Okay. All right. Well, we can look at the audit and find out. So, I believe
Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
We've talked about that enough. Is everyone okay with that one? Right. Let's move on to old business. Anyone?
Madam President,
Ms.
I
Underwood?
would suggest that our old business is that we need to schedule the committee of the whole meeting.
I was going to do that in new business.
I had
We
that
can
in
do
new
it in old.
business.
Okay.
Yep, it doesn't matter. Let's do it now. All right, could everyone get their calendars and see what availability you have for next week? So for the week of the 22nd, I have the 23rd Tuesday available. Anyone?
I'm available Tuesday.
Whatever time works for you, if that's the contingency.
Anytime 6 and,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, evening, absolutely.
okay.
So probably 6:30. We'll shoot for 6:30.
Tuesday.
Tuesday, 6.
Can everyone make Tuesday at 6:30?
I only have Monday and Friday available.
We have committee meetings. We have rules and laws and safety on the 22nd.
We could come at, what is it, 6:30? Can we do 5:30?
I'm gonna be stretching it, 'cause I'm dropping my son off at driver's ed. I can't speed, I don't wanna speed.
Madam President,
Yeah, we got
can
meetings for that.
can we just, can I yield that time for the committee of the whole meeting? I'm willing to yield the time.
Okay.
All right.
Madam President, given the topic, can we do maybe 6?
Can we do what?
Maybe 6 o'clock? Because is it a long meeting? Do we need to have a long meeting? I'm not sure exactly. Is the talking about the committee meetings being on the rules that apply to the committee meetings being on the same night? I don't know how long it would take for us to discuss that topic. Is that a short conversation or a long one?
We have to change the rules in order to be able to do that, because right now the rules don't allow us to have all of our committee meetings on one night.
Okay.
I believe where she's going is because we've talked about this several times, and I get the sense that most council is in favor of doing this. So I think where Ms. Dukestein is trying to go with that question is how much time will it take for us in the committee of the whole to get the verbiage for the rule change?
All 7 of us?
That's the goal.
5 minutes. It sounds like 5 minutes.
Is it a
Yeah.
complete do-over, or is it just changing a few words?
Do you have that?
I do have the sections that we need to address, so
Should make it easier.
I am optimistic that we can get it done quickly. However,
Too. I'm very optimistic.
Yeah, we did most at the last meeting, though,
Yeah.
didn't we?
Yeah.
So most of it was done there.
All right, so can everyone make it at 6 p.m.?
I can.
I can make it at 6.
Mm-hmm.
Yes? All right.
Tuesday?
Let's shoot for 6 o'clock on 4/22. Mr. Hedger, are you able to put out that special meeting announcement?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
I do not need one at my door. Does anyone need
I don't
one
need
at their
one.
door?
I do
I
not.
do not need one.
Mr. Hedger, I will decline having one at my door. Thank you.
Mr. Hedger, under this circumstance, only this circumstance, I don't need one at my door. Just this one.
Got it. Mr. Davis, do you need one at your door?
No, I'll be there.
All right.
So 6:45, 6:52,
Plan.
7:30.
Leave at 5.
That's classified
right.
information.
All right. So we're going to have a special meeting on 4/22 at 6 p.m. It'll be a committee of the whole.
Madam President,
Ms. DeWall.
I would like to say that I have a committee meeting that night for the public safety. I only have 2 items for that agenda so far, so I don't expect that to be a long meeting either.
That's great news. Thank you. All right. Is there any other new business or old business?
Madam President, I just wanted to mention that we did receive a letter from the Department of Commerce. It's just, it's for the retail stores that sell alcohol. If you decide that you don't want them to sell alcohol, you have to do a resolution by May 2nd, 2024.
Could you please forward that to,
It's paper. I can make you a copy.
please? Yes, please. And what was the date on it? By when?
May 2nd.
4/24.
It's for the retail stores, not your bars. It's for retail stores.
Ms. Dewald, could
Yes,
we-
ma'am.
Could you not have three things in your, it might not fit into public safety, maybe it will, I don't know.
We can start
But
there.
If Ms. Underwood is
Giving up her
possibly not
time.
having her meeting, you're the only other one that would.
Certainly,
Before we have our next council meeting.
absolutely.
Thank you very much. All right, given no more old business or new business.
Madam President,
Ms. Dewald,
I move to go into executive session.
you gonna read that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22 G1, to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual, unless the public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual requires a public hearing.
I'll say, Madam President.
Ms. Stugstein?
I'll second that.
Mr. Hedger, could you please call the roll? I have a motion on the floor from Ms. Dewald and a second from Ms. Stugstein to move into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22 G1. I'm not reading the rest.
Ms. Orr,
Yes.
Mr. Wall,
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Brenner,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thank you.
I need to take a 2-minute.